Imagine Alice Cooper with about 1/100th the money.
If the Cramps had been a heavy metal band.
Crazy as H, blood-splattered, ear-splitting hilarity.
The Wizard of Oz meets splatter horror films.
But the gag is, you're in the splash zone.
You're covered with goo and blood, and by the time you're done, if you're not completely soaked, you didn't have a haunted garage show.
It's like going to a horror movie, except it's actually happening.
It's basically walking into the most brutal, gory film right in front of your face.
It's the Arthur Brown ethic, it's the Kiss ethic, it's the Alice Cooper ethic, I never got the word right, guignol. That sort of fashion of entertainment going back to Demon Barber of Fleet Street and before.
I've gotta bring in a jar, keep it under my bed.
Historically, I see them following in this tradition of the most over-the-top bands theatrically.
You know, Alice Cooper and David Bowie and whoever.
They're LA's version and they're the punk rock's version.
But Haunted Garage took it to a new level.
I always felt they did it best.
I think they were the kings of it.
You know, there's a lot of kind of shock rock stuff nowadays and stuff, but there wasn't so much back in those days.
I look at bands like Green Jello and Guar and think Haunted Garage did the more down-home, to-earth, real version of that.
But Dookie took a different slant on it. You know, they weren't monsters from space. They were like out of the horror movie.
Dookie was always just ahead of his time on that.
Like, they never had like a lame show. Like, if you went and saw them, you're like, holy shit, like every time you saw them.
It was just a total crazy shit show.
Their shows were out of control.
With like the props and the nudity, and the audience loved getting gore on them.
With his blood and his gore, this was something that I'd never even seen.
They were taking chances, they were doing things that nobody else had done.
People came to Haunted Garage shows and just lost themselves in the show.
There's always like something different at every show that we didn't do, like
new
the last
effect or
show.
new song.
Yeah.
Or
new hairstyle.
Yeah.
And there was a shock value.
The shock value was exactly what I wanted.
There's this real fervor at the time about shock rock, how bad it was for the kids.
It's in the name of fun, and that's the kind of punk that I always gravitated towards.
It's kind of like, did you ever see Kiss meets the Phantom of the Park?
It's a sideshow, it's a freak show.
It was like a kind of audience participation kind of thing.
We were sort of the catalyst. The audience was what sort of set the tone in motion and set the events in motion.
They just were doing it to have a good time and make you laugh.
It might gross some people out, but there was always a lot of humor behind it.
And you walk out of there feeling like you've maybe left the planet for a little while.
And I think it connected with people in a kind of psychic sort of way even.
People used to tell me they saw me on acid, and I just cannot imagine what those poor guys are like now.
It was beyond just this world even. I know it sounds weird, but...
That's why I loved Haunted Garage.
But the music was really good.
But it really rocked hard. I mean, he had really good musicians in the band.
These guys could really play their instruments.
People think maybe we were just a gimmick, an act, but we took the music very, very seriously.
As much as we put into, you know, our lifestyle and image and we like, that's what we put into the music too. We rehearse a lot.
Well, the music was kind of a bit of everything.
They had their own distinctive sound.
Oh, Haunted Garage is like definitely aggressive music.
It's brief and to the point.
Yeah.
They weren't all punk, they weren't all metal, they weren't all hardcore. They were kind of a mixture of all of it, which I thought was really great.
What is it? It is splatter rock.
It is chainsaw rock and roll.
Yeah.
I remember two young ladies came up to the stage and put a note in front of me. The note read, "What are you doing in this band?" You're like this glamour hard rock metal guy, or at least that's what you look like. And these guys are all freaks.
Each band member was completely different and unique.
I love the combination of different personalities and stuff.
Everybody had their own kind of shtick and look, and it was cool.
It's not an act that we put on to go on stage, though there is performance in this, but it's part of our life that we're extending onto the stage and maybe making it a little bigger.
We wanted to back it up with that character, with that feel. We didn't want it to be only this deep. We want it to be this deep.
None of us are being anything less than what we want to be, and we're taking it to the limit.
You take the whole group and they just look like a bunch of psychos out of a mental ward.
Black drummer, Asian guitar player, crazy ass who knows what singing, and white guy, white biker playing bass,
We don't put on a phony little act just to blow you away. If we're going to blow you away, we're going to do it with ourselves.
That was what really drew me to the band, was we could be as weird as we wanted to, and it was okay. I mean, it was actually encouraged. It was just really free.
It was probably the best part of my life as far as like just being myself, self-actualization, and you just felt good about yourself, and this is what I'm supposed to be doing, and we were living it.
Based on the big guy, Greg Kinnear, live from Hollywood, California. This has been the premiere of Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, where it's been...
You can tell that they really live, not the rock and roll lifestyle, they live the movie lifestyle. And that's another thing about Hollywood, we do have a fascination with film.
Mr. Kaufman, Andy Kaufman, star of My Breakfast with Lassie, and one of the stars of the soon-coming to TV series Taxi Driver.
I can say he always loved film. He was going to be involved in film one way or another.
Yeah, in the beginning, the band was secondary to the movie career, but I always tried to meld them together.
Bang your heads!
He was famous for being on Name That Tune.
Michael, been a hard day's night? That's it, a hard day's night.
His catalog of horror films is incredible.
I had seen many of Dookie's movies long before I knew who he was. Blood Diner, Surf Nazis Must Die, Nightmare Sisters, Hollywood Chainsaw Hookers, Sorority Babes.
What are you staring at? This ain't no freak show.
So many of the movies that were made in the late 70s and 80s were considered throwaway films, but no one expected the longevity that they've had, and that multiple generations of fans would adore these films.
I scared a cop.
And another picture I happen to come across, I think it's a quite handsome shot, a headshot, one of the many of Michael Sonny.
You need somebody in a movie, that's the guy that you want, because he's a fucking interesting dude.
It was just a great time to be young and in Hollywood and working constantly.
Sweetheart, how'd you like that snake last snake with a 5-finger ring?
The band didn't actually start out as prop rock. It started out as a band that was covering bad songs from bad movies.
When I would go to a science fiction or monster convention, there'd be maybe 200 people there. And now you go to convention, there are thousands of people and hundreds of booths. If we were still together, we'd be playing those gigs.
We're the Haunted Garage. Please stop us before we play again.
Would Haunted Garage be canceled now? Yeah, probably.
And things were very different those days. Political correctness existed, but certainly not to the point that it does today.
And then we did some things at our shows that I guess you could find offensive. I don't know, I didn't, but I'm sure my mom would have.
Anything that you do that gets a reaction out of people, that makes people feel, makes them think, irritates them a little, is good.
You take it to the limit. We just want to make offensive,ness a very pleasant art form for the new century.
It's probably no grosser than what Bill Cosby does at home with all those Jell-O pudding pops.
And those children.
I think it was a product of its time. Today, you'd have to be careful doing anything with any kind of sexual content.
If dancing half naked on stage
makes you feel empowered, which I know it makes me feel empowered. So I guess you could call it feminist.
Yeah, we chose Alpha, and I think we got progressively nakeder.
Yeah.
Our fans that really love us don't think we're Satanists. They don't think we're morally corruptible people. I mean, they're there to have a good time. We're outrageous. We're like Monty Python.
I think of him as a guy with commitment to his art.
I think Dookie always kind of had a big time vision with a kind of small time execution.
That's Dookie. I mean, he wants to take it as far as he can take it.
I've always been shocked at like the effort that he's put into his shows.
It wasn't like you could put the album on and get this. You can't. You had to be there live.
You got to see this band.
You kind of had to be there.
It's pure entertainment the whole way.
You can't describe him, you got to hear him.
As Dookie would always say, it'll play in Peoria.
He's the real deal. He's a true life monster.
When you meet some of these monsters, everybody's really pretty chill. Dookie is the same way. Dookie is totally chill.
Dookie was the punk rock god of Hollywood in the late 80s and early 90s.
You're one of a kind. Love you, man.
Wait a minute, you're gonna get this.
Oh, thank you.
Cut! Cut!
Slam, slam, slam!
When I did the artwork for that, people on Facebook, somebody had made a comment on, is that Billie Eilish? And I didn't know who that was. And so I went and looked it up and saw pictures of her with that hair. And I said, oh, she's ripping off Dookie's hairstyle 30 years later.